Good morning. And while you're watching this devotional, and it's pre-filmed, it's pre-recorded, but I want you to know that I'm at Camp Olive. It's our home for this 3 weeks, and we had the first week with our juniors, and then last week was junior hires. This week is high school, and I know the young adults will have their own camp, but I want you to pray for Camp Olive. That's the place where so many decisions are made. There is this new generation of believers who are not only making friends, but they are making new friendship with Jesus Christ Himself. So they're going back home, taking with everything they've learned, they've experienced, and we're just praying for them. And you too, pray that this will reflect into a new lifestyle, one seasoned by Christ's love. So all thumbs up for Camp Olive. Let me ask you a question this morning. Have you ever felt that your Christian faith, your walk with Christ, or going to church, nowadays watching church, serving God and praying and studying the scriptures, have somehow, somewhere become more of a burden, like something that I need to do, I have to do if I want to still be a good Christian? There are all these thoughts and ideas. Why am I doing? You know what I'm talking about? Well, some people do. And maybe sometimes even in my life, I felt that the reason I open that Bible is because I have to. So I had to stop, to just walk back, maybe even close the Bible and say, Lord, let's be honest. I want to love you more. I want to feel your presence so deeply, so personally, that I can't wait to open the scriptures and study more and know you more and have this more deeper and personal relationship with you. So that's what I want to talk about today, because here's what I want to warn you about. If you continue in such matter or attitude, sooner or later, even that task of reading, praying, it'll be gone and you won't even notice. Because unfortunately, you're going to have less and less reasons why to pray, why to read, why to serve. This is the reason why I would like to talk to the heart before I talk to the hand. I like to talk to the mind before I tell you how to decide things. Let's talk about the being before we talk about the doing, and the question of why instead of when and how. 1 John chapter 5 verse 3 says, "For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments. And His commandments," He says, "are not burdensome." Kids go back from Camp Olive, and I feel like a lot of them, they're like, "Oh, Pastor, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to church and I'm going to be more active. I'm going to serve." They go back with all these things to do, and I just ask them, that's perfect. But let me ask you, do you love Jesus a little more? Do you need Jesus a little more? Do you feel closer with Jesus a little more? And if you do those things, you will do them. And if not, then sooner or later you're going to forget about them. So commandments are important. Commandments are the outcome. It's the promise. Lord, I'll do it because I love you. When we love God, then His commandments are not a burden. It's interesting how love has become a word that is so self-centered, right? My desires, my needs, my comfort, and that's when I need love. But for God, who is love, loving us meant sacrifice, humility, crucifixion. When in a culture that we live in, we're taught that love is about smiles and happiness and celebration. Friends, if we truly love God, we will have smiles and celebration as the reward of loving God. When people ran to Jesus, they said, "Jesus, we love you." He turned around and said, John 14:15, "If you love me, well then keep my commandments." Keep my commandments. If you love me, that's where the promise comes. That's where the compromise into what it means to be in the kingdom of God means for a Christian who's real about his faith, about her faith. If we lose our focus from Jesus, then living for Jesus will become a burden. So if you ask me, well, Pastor, how does it happen? When does it happen? My conclusion from the scriptures is, if you have lost your focus from the person, loving the person can become a burden. Think about relationships. If you have lost focus of your friend and all you know is everything they're doing wrong or right, then your decisions to serve them, to love them, it's according to what they do and not who they are. So I bring you the same idea towards Christ. Love Jesus, then keeping his commandments will be a pleasure. Will be a way to say, Lord, I love you too. So here I am keeping your commandments. So it is when we love him that his commandments do not become a burden. So I think of the same way with relationships, friendships, family, marriage, work. It's everywhere. Here's where Satan lost the battle. Okay? When we failed, when we were sinners, Satan thought by sin, bringing sin into my life, he was going to be able to distract God's focus of me. So God was going to say, you know what, you're a sinner, so you're a burden now. I just don't love you anymore. He thought that's what's going to happen. What he never realized that is God's he's so amazing, okay, that he can look at me, ignore all the sin around it, and just focus and say, I love you. So Christ on the cross was not a burden, but it was a sacrifice of love. You realize that? So if you feel that this Christian faith, living with God every single day, has at one point truly become a burden, I say close that Bible. Just sit back and say, Lord, I just want to love you more today than ever before. And if I love you, then truly I can keep your commandments, and they'll never become a burden. So the closing question is, how much do you love Jesus? And that's when you will find the answer, if his commandments are a pleasure or a burden. Think about this. May the Lord bless you.